not working. Oh, sure. It's fun. We'll share that one. Yeah, it's fine. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Oh, that one's not working. That one's not working. That's fine. Oh, is that one gonna reach? It's gonna be a fun.
We'll make it work. Thank you guys all for coming to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Voice Actor Q&A panel. It's an honor for me to be here. Thank you to Liberty City Anime Con, obviously, for hosting this. I'm joined by 5 very talented voice actors. I'm Dylan. I run a YouTube channel called Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, where I go over. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I do like episode reviews, theories, top 10 lists, all focused on the anime side of Yu-Gi-Oh! But this panel is obviously not about me. It is about the 5 very talented voice actors that we have here. I would not be able to do them justice, so if you guys want to introduce yourselves, go right ahead and talk about the characters that you played.
Hey guys, I'm Matt Shipman. This mic's loud, jeez. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, I play Shay. I am a voice actor, ADR scriptwriter, engineer, all that good stuff. Outside of Yu-Gi-Oh!, you might know me from Darling in the Franxx. I play Hiro. My Hero Academia, I play Inasa. And Shay is usually the third one I say, so I already said that. Hi.
Hey everybody, I am Sam Black. On Yu-Gi-Oh! I am, in Vrains, the upcoming series, I am Coulter / Kusanagi, depending on the localization. I am also Robabi and Knight. And then in Arc 5, I was Battle Beast, and I was Mamoru Noro. And then in other stuff, like I'm a bunch of characters of Pokemon. I am, Marowak, Metapod, Scyther, a lot of the original 151 actually, and Tapu Bulu. And some other stuff, I don't know, I did World War Blue with Matt. That was fun.
Can you do an impression of Scyther?
I can't. I'm not allowed. I'm gonna give the mic over to Dan.
I will because I don't do it. Scyther. Thank you. There's a hint. My name is Daniel J. Edwards. So in Brains, I play the roles of Varus or Revolver, Gore, Go. Amazuka. And in DSOD, I was Agami. In Arc 5, I was Dennis, and Dipper, and Trout, and Sun Shadow, who had like 3 seconds, but it was amazing. And I do other stuff as well, and I guess the one thing that I find one of the weirdest and proud outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Satellite Girl Milk Cow. I play the Milk Cow, and if you watch it, they actually milk me. So, I don't know, I thought that was interesting. I'm a weirdo. Here you go.
On camera? Never mind. Okay. I am Barrett Letty, and I play Akira Zaizen in Brains, and this is my Yu-Gi-Oh! Debut.
Good. Hi, my name is Emily Kramer, and I am brand new, so please be nice to me. I play Aoi or Sky Zaizen. We have renamed her in the dub, also Blue Angel. And yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is my first foray into animation voiceover, and I am stoked. So, really happy to be here. Nice to meet you guys.
All right, so 5 really, really incredible people and voice actors. So the first question is just talking about kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole. Yu-Gi-Oh! Really is a mega franchise, and whether it's the card game, which is obviously one of the most popular card games in the world, or even the anime, which has been on now for almost 2 decades, which is crazy to even think, or even phone apps like Duel Links, which have been extremely successful and popular. I think it's safe to, again, argue that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the more well-known franchises in the world. So going into the 6th series, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, what does Yu-Gi-Oh! Mean to you? And even going back to when you were in Arc 5, what does Yu-Gi-Oh! Mean to you kind of like before you were in it and now that you are in it? Is it intimidating to be a voice actor in such like a well-known franchise? What new paths and doors has it maybe opened or led to? Just what does Yu-Gi-Oh! Really mean to you guys?
I got paid to say I activate my trap card, and that was really cool. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid when the first season and like GX were coming out, just kind of casually. I didn't know the rules. No one knew the rules back in the day, right? We were all just like, I drew blue as my dragon, I summon it, I win. That's not how you play the game. Yeah, you're wearing a blue shirt. Ultimate. And then, Jesus, Mike, this really, maybe we just lower it. I don't know how to go. Yeah, I'll just go back here. And then thank you. I'll just keep talking while he lowers it slightly, and then that's better, right? Yeah. I got back into it around the Synchro era in high school because I saw a friend of mine that I hadn't connected with in a few years playing it. And then me and my friends kind of made it the cool thing to do again in high school somehow, because all you have to do that is embrace it. When someone's like, are you playing Yu-Gi-Oh? You go, yes! Yes, I am! And then I fell out of it again, and then I kind of got back into it in college a little bit, which was around the Xyz era. And then I got to audition for the show, and I booked Shay, and I was way back into it. So it was basically reliving some of my childhood. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a big franchise for me growing up, so it's really cool to be a part of it. And now I want to be a part of all those other cool things that I liked as a kid.
So I was definitely, as a kid, I was like a really big fan of Duel Monsters. I was like very, very into it, and I really enjoyed the series. And then, there came a point where it sort of fell off my radar for a while, and then it got to the point where, oh, this is a thing that I can audition for and I can be a part of, and like that element is completely unreal. I mean, it's something that like exists in your childhood and like you grow up with it, and then now I think I'm probably speaking for everyone that the first time you watch an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! That you're in, it's mind-blowing. Like it's this thing where you're like, I'm looking into my childhood and participating in it. It's so cool. And so much of the fun too in coming back into it is rediscovering all the stuff that you may have missed if there came a point where like in the 20-ish years that it's been around, the stuff that you may have missed in between. So part of that has been catching up on stuff, getting back into the game. I played Duel Links. A lot of us played Duel Links like a lot. And that has been an incredible element of the experience of getting to participate in the franchise, because it is such an exciting franchise to be part of.
So my parents believed that I should practice the piano a lot in order for me to watch TV. So every half hour that I practiced, I got 15 minutes of TV. So I missed the Yu-Gi-Oh! Era because I chose Digimon. But I always thought that it was the coolest looking thing. I would hear, it's time to duel, and I was like, oh wow, it is, and I missed it. But during, when I first heard about these auditions, it was back in Zexal, and I was lucky enough to book the part of Scritch the Varian. I had no idea what Yu-Gi-Oh! Was or how to play. So I learned everything crash course. My friend Eddie Lee, I don't know if you have heard of him, he plays Moonshadow in Arc 5. He taught me everything about Yu-Gi-Oh! In 5 minutes, and it was crazy. But then from just learning that, I learned to love the show. It was a lot of fun. And then I learned how to play the game, and it was a lot of fun. And Duel Links is awesome, and you should play it. Everyone should play Duel Links. It's amazing.
I challenge you. That's one thing for sure.
Oh my, I would do it. But yeah, that was my journey with it, and I hope that it just keeps growing. It's a lot of fun.
Wait. You said that you were into Digimon because you missed the Yu-Gi-Oh! Era?
I did, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I got War Greymon seat covers on my Mustang.
What? That's fair.
Yeah.
Right on.
I like the old school War Greymon, like the young time.
Wish I had a Mustang.
Don't we all?
I wish I had a War Greymon.
That too. I mean, like the rest of us, I grew up loving Duel Monsters, and it's so strange because you think when you see it on the screen as a kid, you just kind of think it happens magically. Like this whole thing, it's like, yeah, that's it. That's Yu-Gi-Oh. It came together magically, but to be a part of the process and actually like be in the studio and recording it, it's surreal. It's grateful for this opportunity, and a lot of it I owe to the fans who keep watching it, keep supporting it. So thanks to you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause.
So everybody said all the things, but I kind of, what Sam said about it being a thing that's, you're reaching into your childhood and you're getting to really participate in that is something that really resonates with me because I wasn't playing Yu-Gi-Oh, but my friends were, so now I get to call and be like, hey dude, guess what show? Very gratifying. But actually I had a similar childhood experience to Daniel where my parents were very, very strict with television, and they wanted me doing schoolwork and practicing and, you know, playing and doing, being outside and stuff. They were like, strict with cartoons and kind of really averse to them. So my wheelhouse was kind of British comedy night on PBS, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But it was always really exciting when I'd be at my friend's house. I get to watch cartoons, so now I get to be in them, and that is thebum.com. And for me, I also come from a kind of a different background. I've been a Broadway character actress for the last 8 years, and never really felt like I belonged. And I actually saw a documentary called I Know That Voice. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but as soon as I saw it in 2014, I said, okay, that's what I've been wanting to do this entire time. I'm just in the wrong place. So now I'm in the right place, and I'm very, very happy to be here.
Yeah, great responses, guys. So moving on, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains is the next step in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime world. I'm sure everyone in this room, including myself, is very excited for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains English dub. And without obviously giving too much away, if you had to describe the character that you're playing in the English dub with one personality trait, what would that personality trait be? If you want to say Shay,
in Brains, non-existent. No, I mean, well, sure, if I want to say Shay, he was passionate. Not angry, passionate.
For Coulter, I would just say, like, fun. Not taking things too seriously until he takes things very serious.
For Varus, I would say dragons. And for Gore, I would say buff. Yep.
Zaizen would probably say he was amazing. I will also say that he is amazing.
And for Aoi or Sky and Blue Angel, she's very determined. She's very determined to prove herself and prove that she is strong enough to hold her own in this world.
Yeah, great answers, guys. You guys kind of alluded to it when we went over the previous question about playing Duel Links and dueling in real life, because the card game is obviously what makes the anime work and it's what is Yu-Gi-Oh! At the end of the day. My question really was if you guys dueled outside of the show, which obviously a few of you already alluded to. A lot of Duel Links. You honestly convinced me to even download the app. I know it's a sin that I don't have the app, but I'll be downloading it right after this panel. So the question is, do you guys duel outside of the show, and was it difficult to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Without knowing the card game and how the mechanics work, or is it something that you kind of learn along the way?
Well, if we're always going to go in order, then I feel like I'm probably going to answer this for most people in that we have a script, you know, so we don't necessarily have to know exactly what every card does, and half of the script is explaining what the card does. So I can't say it was necessarily, at least for me, difficult to know what was going on, but I also know the game decently well. I didn't know like the pendulum mechanic in R5 initially, and then the earlier part of the question I said I dueled for years. I haven't played probably in the last year just because I don't know how to make raid raptors work in Master Rule 4. So once they make a raid raptor link monster, then I'll be back in full force.
When I started out, I mean, I watched the show as a kid, but I didn't play the card game as much. I feel like kids ultimately got split one of three ways. You went either like, you were like a super big Yu-Gi-Oh player, or a super big Magic the Gathering player, or a super big Pokemon player, or you had, lots of friends. When I came into the show, we were all friends, actually, right? Come on, this is proof. This is the proof. When I came into the show, I didn't, I wasn't super familiar with the mechanics of how the game worked, and playing Mamoru Noro in Arc 5, like, I was always wondering, like, oh boy, here it comes, I'm gonna have a duel, and I didn't. So I didn't really need to learn it that well, but then once I came in as Battle Beast, and Battle Beast had a lot of awesome duels, and even carded a couple good guys, pretty cool. Pretty evil. And he playing that and playing the role, that is what really got me into the game again, because it was just so much fun, playing this sort of scripted version of the duel, and it was such an exciting duel that I was like, I need to do this in life now. And that's when I downloaded Duel Links, and in Duel Links, I very much do play a Gladiator Beast deck, and it's super great. And that's my story with that.
I'm kind of similar. I didn't really play as a kid. I was intimidated by all the words. It was I started Crash Course playing ever since I learned my role in Zexal. And then since then, Matt and I have played a healthy amount of times, like just Dennis versus Shay.
Basically, it was Performance and Raid Raptors, and that was it for hours.
That's about, like, we probably had 100 duels. And that was a lot of fun. And I don't play as much anymore Master duels, but I definitely play Duel Links, like, all the time.
I think I just collected the cards as a kid. I'm both Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards. I didn't really play the game. I think my brother and I didn't have the patience to sit down and do it. We would get distracted by things outside our window or something. And but I would enjoy, making up cards to fool my brother into trading me his cards. As I've told these fellas, I would say, like, oh, I'll trade you one Pletar if you give me that Charizard, or I'll trade you my Buckachew for this and stuff. And then, a couple weeks later, when am I getting my Buckachew? I'm like, yeah, eventually. But I should be ashamed of myself. But
I have the utmost respect for you.
Thank you very much. You have a Mustang. That's true.
Oh my goodness. So I never dueled because I told you about my childhood, but I have too many cousins and I would watch them duel. And I am learning as much as I can on the show.
Can I say something? I've actually seen people cash in their old collection for a crazy amount of money. Some dude cashed in his mint condition collection of Charizard, like Lane Charizard, and all different types of cards. It was valued at over $300,000.
300,000, that's crazy.
Like mint condition.
That was me.
I wonder if Yu-Gi-Oh cards would probably be like the same amount. Like mint condition Exodia or Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician.
I know some do go for a pretty high price.
Yeah, go to eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about they have it like professionally graded. They can send it off to a grader and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We probably can't answer that.
Yeah, I definitely can.
Google can.
Yeah, I definitely Google that. But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of valuable cards still in circulation. And the game is always fun. It's never too late to pick up on the game. I for Daniel J. Edwards, who again is voicing Varys and Gore in the upcoming show. Varys and Gore, definitely two, I would say, of probably the 4 or 5 really major characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains. So what are the challenges of voicing like 2 different, but yet 2 very important characters, and 2 pretty distinctly different characters?
Well, I would say one voice is like a character, and then there's another voice that's like another one. So doing them is kind of like doing that. I've always been very grateful for the fact that my range is weird and I can manipulate a lot of things. I can't do the voices for you right now, but I can say that they're a lot of fun and they're different enough, I think, in my voice and where I put them to where it's not as challenging. It's more the physicality of it. We get very physical in the booth. We do a lot of things to get some
Like
sounds
crystals?
out sometimes. Sure, absolutely. Yes, literally. Yes.
You're ruining the equipment.
So yeah, no, I think it's just more about where to put them as an actor. I would say, Varys is very smooth and very sophisticated and calculated, whereas Gore is more out there and energetic and like rawr. So yeah, that's basically it. I would say that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I can't even imagine voicing one character, so I give you a lot of credit for being able to do two completely different voices on the same show. But my next question is for Emily Kramer, obviously making her Yu-Gi-Oh! Debut. And I want to know how you approach voicing Sky Zeizen, because she really is almost like two different characters in one, and you can kind of tell that based off her design, whereas Sky in the real world is a lot more kind of to herself and a lot more, I don't want to say boring, but she's a lot more like bland as a person, whereas then she goes into Link Brains. I mean, I love Sky, don't get me wrong, but then she goes into Link Brains and she's a completely different character. So is it tough to, it's almost like voicing two characters in one, so is that challenging? Like, how do you kind of approach that?
Sam has long arms.
Bland, right. Anyway, she's not bland. She is very, she's very reserved, I would say. She's very reserved in the real world. And actually, after I don't know, I guess it was probably the first episode, I recorded the Sky stuff. The Blue Angel stuff is different, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I laid down the first Sky things in my first session, and then we came back the next time, and they said, actually, can you pull her back even more? Can you make her even more quiet and fearful, reserved? And I said, sure. And we did that, and it makes it an even greater contrast when you hear me as Blue Angel, because I am the loudest panda. I'm the tallest panda, I'm also the loudest panda. But in terms of voicing two characters in one, but the two voices that are very, very different from each other, I draw on this experience I have. I treat it as I would treat something as a singer. Whereas Sky, I place in my, she's kind of more in my upper register. She's very, very soft. I obviously can't do the voice for you, but I approach them as a singer would. And because Blue Angel, I am sometimes in there for 3+ hours, and I am loud. So I have to put that in a healthy place vocally, and so far so good. Yeah, it's been working out okay.
Good, awesome. Yeah, Sky is one of my favorite characters in the show, and I think it's very unique what they've done with her character, because she is basically like two completely different characters. So I'm really excited to see your take on that. My next question is for Matt. Shay Kurosaki Shay Obsidian became one of the fan favorites in Arc 5, in the dub especially. I mean, he's just the way you handled him was beloved by so many people. So what was your experience like voicing a character like Shay?
Well, thank you for your kind words. It was really cool. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was kind of the first big voiceover thing I booked, so that in itself was an experience. And also, like I said before, because the franchise itself meant so much to me, it was really cool. What was also great is that Shay is not necessarily a wacky character or anything, so I didn't have to do too much with my voice. I basically just had to sound more serious. And he's also very explosive. He yells a lot when he's dueling and gets really angry. And I remember when I first booked the character, I looked him up, and one of the first things I saw was a GIF of him when he screams, "It's my turn" in episode 24, and like red light flashes, and his eyes are like detailed and terrifying. I'm like, whoa, that's gonna be fun. But he was, I don't know what the word is, like therapeutic almost. You know, if I was having a bad day and I had to come in and scream as Shay for like an hour, that would help. This is maybe getting a little emotional here, but someone in my family was getting sick at a time that Shay was getting very angry in that show. It was the second time you and I dueled on the bikes, and that was like I went into that session being like, man, this sucks. The person is okay now, but it really didn't look good for a while. I was like, I told the director and the engineer, I'm like, hey guys, like I'm sorry if I'm off my game or something today. I'm stuff's going on back home and I'm whatever. But I went into that and all he did was scream the whole episode and like angrier than ever before, and it was so great. It was so helpful. So I feel like I really connected with the character because he went through a nice emotional arc that just happened to time out with things going on in my life.
That GIF was against the LDS trio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment. I get goosebumps every time I watch it. Yeah, you really played Shay amazingly. My next you're welcome. And my next question is for Sam Black, who is voicing the hot dog guy Coulter. You've had a lot of fun with his character. The shirt looks amazing. You've had an extremely amount of fun on Twitter. So what has been your favorite thing about voicing Coulter?
You know, so much of it is kind of like the surprise I had when, you know, when I first went in for it. I was like, okay, here I go. I'm doing, because, you know, coming from Arc 5, doing Mamoru Neuro, I knew that, you know, the stuff that they approached me for is mostly like kind of a supporting character, usually leaning comedic, like that kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to be like, you know, funny hot dog guy. And then, you know, as going through the show, the big surprise for me is like how many levels a character like Coulter has. And so a big part of it has been going from this place of like, oh, I'm doing this for fun, I'm doing this, I'm being funny, I'm entertaining the audience, to a place where like, oh no, like this comes from a really deep, grounded place where he's just like, he's supporting his best friend, and like without each other, like they can't find the things that they need for closure in their life, and it becomes this really, really kind of, it became a lot more nuanced than I was expecting when I first booked the role.
Yeah, you've really taken it, and I'm really excited to see. I mean, I saw the first episode preview at the screening of the Pyramid of Light movie, and I thought you were great as Coulter. So, and I know you've had a lot of fun with this character. So, really excited to see Coulter in the Vrains dub. And my final individual question is for Barrett, who is voicing Akira, Sky's older brother. I talked to you briefly before this, Barrett, and you said you're an older brother yourself, and so you can kind of relate to Akira. So what have been like the challenges of voicing Akira, who is a very protective brother of his sister in Vrains?
I think the challenges, some of them are more technical in placing the voice. I think the voice is sort of in a similar range as mine, maybe a little bit different. So sometimes it's maintaining that while recording. Other than that, it's because Akira comes across as so, you know, moody all the time, and that can easily become unlikable. And I think I love the character, so it isn't hard for me to like him. But it's while I'm recording, it's really understanding his journey, what he's going through, and that he's not a villain, or he's not someone that's unlikable, grumpy guy. It's just someone with real stakes, real emotions, and real, you know, cares. So I think that's been the most challenging part, also the most enjoyable part. And I have to acknowledge Christina, who, please just stand up so we can just see Akira right here. Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I personally love Akira. He's one of my favorite characters in the show, but he definitely is a very polarizing character and can be a tough character to really root for. But yeah, great answers there, guys. And so moving kind of away from Yu-Gi-Oh! Just for a quick second and moving into more the general voice acting field, I think there's a lot of people, maybe even some people in this room, that want to maybe be a voice actor. It's honestly like I think a great job that a lot of people would want to have, but I've always felt it's, you know, it's just like acting. It's a very tough industry to break through into. I'm sure it is. And so what is like one big piece of advice that you would have for someone who wants to become a voice actor?
Take acting classes, learn how to act. You are an actor. And that is first and foremost. It doesn't really matter how many wacky voices you can use because there's plenty of work out there for regular sounding people. There's also a lot more work other than anime. I know this is an anime con, so I'm not trying to like dig into anyone there, but like anime is one of the lowest paying voiceover gigs out there. So don't limit yourself. And be willing to take criticism and learn. Everyone is learning all the time, even when you're a professional. A lot of professionals still take classes because they want to learn new things from people who have been working in the industry longer than them. So just don't get a big head.
I will shamelessly plug Format that Matt and his very lovely girlfriend Brittany Lauda, they actually have a great class, which if you are lucky enough to take it, you should absolutely do it. Very cool. I think I've basically said about as much in other like sort of speaking engagements and whatnot before. I mean, I have sort of a 3-point thing that I like to pull out when people ask me about like how do I do this full time, which is number one is location. Location is incredibly important. You need to be at a place where there's enough work where you can support yourself in this industry. And there are a lot of places where that isn't the case, whether it's, you know, there's just not enough commercial voiceover work, which is often the bread and butter of a working voice actor's repertoire. Whatever it is, if there aren't agents out there, you know, you need to be in a place where it happens. And, you know, places like Texas, like New York, like Los Angeles. I would say number 2 is a commercial demo. You need to put together a commercial demo because a commercial demo is the kind of demo that an agent is going to be interested in. Because ultimately, agents are about the commission that they make from you, and they typically make 10% of what you make. If an agent, by the way, is asking you to pay them to represent you, they are a con artist. Don't do that. So agents often look for commercial demos because commercial demos are often what pay the highest lump sum at once, which makes them the most money at once. So a commercial demo is very important for booking an agent. And then number 3 is it's never too early to seek an agent. I know a lot of people who have been in the business for a long time and we're still like booking roles and going, well, I don't know, do you think I'm ready to reach out for an agent? Yes, of course you are. So you have to be in the right place, put together a commercial demo, and reach out to agencies. They make money from actors. They want you to reach out. It is important that you do because it's what keeps them working. So that's my 3 things.
Thanks for leaving some stuff left to talk about. No, you know, I think all of that is important. I also think you should probably have a voice. If you don't, then this probably is not a good career. You have to be able to phonate sound. But in all seriousness, on top of knowing all of the you know specifics, I would say the first and foremost thing is passion. And if you're passionate about it and you want to do it, just do it. Just go and do it. Find a way to do it, and it's, you know, the details are within what they were talking about, but like if you have the heart for it and you want to do it and you don't go out and do it, you're never going to do it. So you should just go do it. Fulfill your dreams, right? So that's the big advice that I would have, is just to do that. And now I have to go, but it's been lovely with everybody. I hope you.
My advice would be, if you're in a panel, never leave early.
Dan, shame on you.
Always stay to the bitter end. I would say do your research before you give anyone money. Make sure that they're legitimate. Make sure that they will actually give like a personal touch to their teaching, and they won't just treat you like, you know, someone that's just giving them money and someone, you know, then on to the next person. Really, like, do your research. There are some great teachers out there. There are people out there that are just trying to get your money. And I put my demo together. I have a little mic, and that's my commercial demo. I put it together, and a friend of mine just kind of went in and fixed the levels, and that's what I used, and that's what booked me my agent. And then I had people at the same time trying to tell me, oh yeah, give me like $1,300. I'll put demo together. Give me $700, and I did it for $0. So you can do that too. It's just about finding the right people, using resources, networking, and doing your research.
So these guys have said a lot, and I will say a little. So I come from the Broadway world, and what I know about that is it's a very competitive place, and no matter what you're doing as an actor, it's a competitive business. One thing that I've learned that is true across the board, no matter what you're doing, is to be the person that people want to work with. And that means being professional, that means being on time once you're, in a place where you are going to do a job. But just to bring everything you have to it every time. And that just more than anything includes being kind, being patient, being considerate of other people and their time. Be the person that people want to come to work and say, oh my God, I cannot wait to have a session with this person. Be the person who makes it a better day for everybody.
I'd actually like to add something too that probably not a lot of people know, is that this is sort of almost an add-on from, say, like, if you love it, you have a passion for it, go for it, do it. Matt and I know each other from like 7 because we started in the amateur voiceover acting world. We started in forums. We started in this, online world where we would just try and soak everything up we could about this industry, about doing work, and it was about putting in the work and paying your dues and doing indie projects and then smaller professional projects and then bigger professional projects. And of the people that we've come up with, everyone who's stuck with it is working in the industry right now. It really is a matter of persistence, and it's a matter of being willing to, it's not just persistence, because people can be persistent, but then they'll be like persistent about the flaws that they're like sort of ingraining into themselves as a professional. It's about, nobody's perfect, and it's about being persistent, and it's about being willing to grow as you get more and more experience and as you learn, and the learning is never over, as Matt said.
Amazing advice, guys, and if you love it, do it. That's I think one of the best pieces of advice that anyone can take with them. And so before we can take audience questions for a little bit. I think we have about 10 minutes left. 11 minutes left. So before we do that, you guys can have a little self-promo here. Why should we watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains?
If you're here, you're gonna watch it. It's a really terrific show, and so much of what's exciting about Yu-Gi-Oh! As a franchise is that as each new series comes out, from Duel Monsters to GX, et cetera, the show grows, and the canon grows, and the world building gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so much of what the show does is it grows and it matures with its audience. And Vrains is another really, really great example of the franchise evolving with the fan base. And it's really grounded, it's really emotionally interesting. There are ways in which it feels like very kind of young adult. It's got a lot of really interesting elements. And like many of the other franchises, it also has its own take on how the card game fits into the universe. In the case of Vrains, as people who've seen episode 1 are aware of, it's through sort of this VR cyber universe, which is super, super cool. And it's like just a new, fresh take on it, and it's the 6th series, but it's so fresh that like it always feels like the very first series of a brand new, exciting adventure. It's awesome.
Well, Sam summed it up very well. I agree. I keep saying when I watch an episode back or while we're recording it, I really think I'm like, there's something special about this one. I don't know what I've really enjoyed all the different incarnations.
What's special about this one is that Barrett's in this one.
That's what I was getting to. Thank you. And every time I'm like, there's something special about this one. Not just the way it treats dueling and that innovative new way. It's also, there's something about the characters that are just, they really grow on you. They really, you get attached to them.
Everything they said. But I think the story is just really, really interesting, and I mean, obviously I've seen prior Yu-Gi-Oh series. The art to me is different. I think it's really, really beautiful, and the color schemes and just everything visually as well that's going on, I find really, really interesting. So I think you guys are really gonna love it.
Great answers, guys. Yeah, I definitely recommend checking Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains when it does come to air. We have about 8 minutes left, so we can take some audience questions, right? So, you, sir, in the Yankee hat.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, James.
So, I haven't really watched the series probably since like GX, like when they were like in another dimension. Yu-Gi-Oh was causing havoc.
Right.
But I started, but I watched Dark Side of Dimensions. I like the art style and everything. I was thinking about getting into it. That's when I started getting Duel Links. But just, since I'm kind of the person that's more about just the old stuff, is there anything in Brains that kind of like harks back to the, like, is there some sort of like universal connection to Brains and the old stuff? Like they about something? Or?
I would say that Vrains as a show is like it's self-contained in a lot of ways, but a lot of the ways in which Vrains harkens back to other shows is really like, and it's the way all the shows really relate to each other is through the actual dueling itself. I would say that Vrains is also a really great show where if you haven't been following the show for a while, it's a really great one to jump in on because so much of it starts fresh and has its own new unique world building. And like, it's not one of those things where if you jump in and there's stuff you're not, like if you're like, oh, I missed Zexal, will I not get this? It's one of those things where if you start Vrains on episode 1, there's like you'll get it all. So it's one of those things where I think there's no sort of intimidating element of like there's stuff I need to know going into this. It's a really great one to just like start with fresh, honestly. Yeah. Yes.
Is that basically what Duel Links is? Like, is it kind of like
A little bit. Yeah.
the color scheme and the use of the word links and everything? I feel like that was a planned.
And skills, right?
Yeah.
Yes, skills
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
It is pretty cool.
Oh, they have
Yeah.
skills. They do have skills.
Yeah. And it's a speed duel often too. So like,
It's very Duel Links oriented, yes. Yes.
What is AI called in ninja? I don't know. Is there called AI?
I do not know.
They
are in the first episodes that which came out.
They are, but I don't think they were referred to by name in that episode.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just as curious as you.
You can't say anything that's not out yet.
Yes.
I actually got 2 questions. Number 1, I've been a fan of the original Yu-Gi-Oh seasons for a long time. And this is a question for all of you. Which do you think was the worst villain? Pegasus, Merit, or Dogs?
That's a tough one. Oh no, we can't answer that. Yeah. The second question. What's the second question?
Second question is, could we possibly see any of the monsters from the old season make an appearance in the new one?
yeah. I mean, we don't have control over that as actors, to be honest with you. So I can't promise you anything.
Yeah, but do you think it might be a possibility, maybe? I mean,
As someone who has absolutely no say in the decision, and I could be sitting right next to you, sure. But I don't know.
Yes.
About that, I watched the Japanese version of Brains before, and then like there are a lot of like very very old cards, like trap cards and magic cards that appear. So I'm not sure on monster cards, but.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? You.
I'm actually a huge fan of the original Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'd like to become a voice actor as well. And have you met any of the original voice actors like Dan Green?
I don't think I have. I haven't met anyone who was a big character in the original.
Daniel worked with them for Dark Side of Dimensions.
Yeah. Dan left, but I'll answer for him. Yes.
Wait, but did he meet them?
Yes.
We
Yeah, he
recorded
did.
individually.
No,
Okay.
I think he did meet them.
Cool.
Yeah.
what's the name of the guy that did the voice for Pegasus? Darren?
Darren
does.
Oh, Darren, of course.
Yeah. Darren, yeah. The voice of Pegasus is the director.
Yeah,
So
so we all know now.
Oh, wow, okay.
I'm like, no one from the original have I ever met yet.
One last question. Oh, in the back.
I watched like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and 5Ds when I was like way younger, and I realized that when I realized there was like a lot more episodes. How come the production company kind of like cheated like the viewers on those remaining episodes?
Timing, really. Timing and edits.
I don't know, we just act. Honestly, we don't have any insight into that, I apologize.
Also, will Brains get a full English dub?
I have no idea. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest with you. We're not privy to that information, so sorry.
Well, thank you guys so much. Honestly, it was incredible. Check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains. These guys are amazing people, amazing voice actors and actresses. And without you guys, obviously, we would not be here. So thank you to Liberty City Anime Con, and thank you to everyone for coming.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.